We're far behind schedule, but without further ado, I would like to invite my co-founder to give a short welcome address as we get right to the business of the day. Please make welcome John Okoro, please. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here today. As my partner, co-founder said, we are delighted to have everyone here. And this would not have been possible without partnership that works. So working together between all of us to see a stronger ties and relations between France and Nigeria. We do recognize all our dignitaries. The hall is full of dignitaries today, and we cannot read everybody's names, but during the course of this event, we'll be seeing and receiving and hearing from individuals, dignitaries, and companies that are doing business in Nigeria. There's something that we regularly say that was popularized in 2014, that if you're not in Nigeria, you're not in Africa. And that is true because Nigeria is, despite what people say about the challenges, because we do hear and receive information from companies, but the opportunities, this is the best time to invest in Nigeria, right? Despite what people may say about the currency, right? We'll be hearing today about what people are doing, companies are doing to actually stem the tide. We do warmly welcome you. Bienvenue à tout le monde, à tous nos invités. Merci de votre présence et participation. Thank you for your participation and your presence, and we wish you all a very fruitful deliberations, and thank you for your support. We do warmly appreciate this. Thank you.
Can we make welcome Monsieur Florent as he gives his welcome address?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to Friends of Nigeria for this invitation. I'm very pleased to be here and to introduce this event today. Well, I just have a few remarks and a few messages regarding the bilateral relations between Nigeria and France from an economic point of view. First, I would like to say that to us, it seems that conditions are really ripe for business between France and Nigeria to thrive. I think that the bilateral relations could not be better than now. We have a very close friendship between our two head of states. You know that Emmanuel Macron did his internship at the ENA, the National School of Administration, when he was a student in Nigeria, in Abuja, so he has a very strong interest in Nigeria. And President Tinubu, on his side, is often in France and has many friends here. And so there's a lot of support, political support, for this economic relation to thrive. And probably you saw this in the press recently, but right now we are also working on a state visit of President Tinubu to France, probably by the end of the year. So we think that there's a very strong agenda ahead to support the business between our two countries. So this is true for the bilateral relations, but I would like also to insist that, in our view, the Tinubu administration has started some very ambitious reforms to make the environment better in Nigeria for business and for companies. Since he came to office last year, in 2023, President Tinubu started some very ambitious reforms on the foreign exchange policy, on the withdrawal of subsidies for PNS. And of course, this is a kind of difficult moment painful moment for the population now in Nigeria and for the economy. But we can see that it is producing some effects, that the economy is stabilizing in Nigeria, that now there's more liquidity in dollars for foreign companies. It's easier to repatriate the benefits from Nigeria, and that the exchange rate of the naira is now stabilizing on the foreign exchange market. So obviously, these reforms, with the support of foreign partners, international partners like the World Bank and many other institutions, now is helping a lot to create a good environment for foreign investors to come to Nigeria. And we probably open a new era of economic growth in Nigeria, and this environment will be very supportive for foreign companies to come to Nigeria. So today there's already a number of companies, French companies, doing business in Nigeria. We just did a survey about the French presence in Nigeria, and French companies, with the French trade advisors, the CCEF, and I would like to share with you a few results of this survey. So today in Nigeria there are already about 90 companies, French companies, operating in Nigeria in a large number of sectors. First, of course, it is energy, but we also have a lot of companies doing trade and retail, and also in transportation and logistics. Today, French companies have created jobs for about 16,000 people in Nigeria, so this is quite a lot, and French companies do contribute a lot to the Nigerian economy right now. Their turnover is more than 2.5 billion euros in Nigeria, so we can see that the business is big in Nigeria for French companies. And I said that French companies contribute a lot to the Nigerian economy. So they hire a lot of local employees. The number of expats is most of the time below 10%, which means that French companies also contribute a lot in training and providing jobs to Nigerians. So we have a strong base, economic base of French presence in Nigeria, and we hope that we can do better. Of course, the oil and gas sector does attract a lot of attention, but in our view, there are many other opportunities where there's a very strong environment and very strong market in Nigeria. It can be for agriculture, cultural industries, and of course tech. You know, we have the French tech in Lagos, in Nigeria, and we try to support interconnections between the French and the Nigerian tech ecosystems. When we talk about bilateral relations, it's also important to underline that we would like to see more of Nigeria here in France. We think what is important also to support the region is to promote the image of Nigeria here, to show that Nigeria is not only about, we know the image often in France can be a bit biased by the news, so we often hear about the political news, issues of safety in Nigeria, but we have to show that in Nigeria is big in many sectors, and that there's a lot of opportunities for French companies in Nigeria. So this year we organized an Nigerian pavilion at the Paris Agric Show, the Salon de l'Agriculture, which was quite successful, to show the potential of the Nigerian economy to France and to the rest of the world and the rest of Europe. And it would be very interesting to replicate this kind of event in other places, like in Vivatech for the tech industry. If we could have a tech pavilion from Nigeria, it would be great. Or maybe in the movie industry at Cannes Festival, which is also a very important marketplace for the movie industry. So yes, we need to promote the image and to make sure that Nigerian presence is everywhere in the important international events in France. And I would like also to insist that France can also be a good place for Nigerian investors. Today we have 3 Nigerian banks, some of them are here today, in France, UBA, Access Bank, and more recently Zenith Bank, we just got its license last summer and will probably start their operations by the end of the year. We also have some Nigerian companies investing here, doing some research and development, like Gas 360, or in the sector of agriculture, like Rotimi is doing some business here. So we also would like to promote Nigerian presence in France through investments and through participation to important events, to show all the potential of Nigeria for the bilateral economic relations. So thank you again. I think this event is part of this agenda. It's the opportunity to talk more and to explain more what's happening in Nigeria to our French audience. And I hope that it will be fruitful and bring new projects for Nigeria, for Nigerian and French companies. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed partners and distinguished guests, it is with great honor and privilege that I stand before you today, representing the Embassy of Nigeria in France at the 8th edition Spotlight Nigeria. This event, held in partnership with the Nigerian-Europe Trade and Investment Summit, marks a significant milestone on the ongoing efforts to foster economic collaboration and mutual growth between Nigeria and Europe. The theme of this year's summit, Translating Opportunities to Business Deals, aligns effectively with the vision and policy direction of our esteemed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. His Excellency has been a resolute advocate for the expansion of trade and investment, recognizing them as a crucial pillar for the socio-economic development of any nation. This summit is a testament to our commitment to translating this vision into tangible outcomes. Nigeria, a nation rich in culture, innovation, and resources, has always been a beacon of self-sufficiency. However, our President's policy underscores the importance of global partnerships in achieving sustainable growth. We do understand that by opening our doors to international trade and investment will not only enrich our economy, but also contribute to the prosperity of our partners and friends of Nigeria. No doubt, Nigeria is committed to creating a conducive environment, climate. We have implemented policies that ensure a level playing field for investors, both domestic and foreign. Our legal and regulatory frameworks are continuously being refined and fine-tuned to provide clarity, predictability, and protection for legitimate investors. This is in line with our President's directive to make Nigeria a preferred destination for foreign direct investment. To our European partners, I extend a warm invitation to explore the vast opportunities that Nigeria presents. Our nation is ready to engage in meaningful partnerships that would translate into business deals, creating value for all stakeholders. Let us work together to bridge the gap between the opportunities and outcomes. I would like to reiterate our President's commitment to fostering trade and investment environment that is not only beneficial to Nigeria, but also to our global partners. This 8th edition, Spotlight Nigeria, is a step forward in this journey, and we look forward to the fruitful discussions, networking, and collaborations that will emerge from this summit. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a productive and successful engagement as we proceed with today's event. Thank you.
Mr. Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, partners, friends, good morning. It's always a great pleasure to be part of such a remarkable event, especially when it's about Nigeria, where business goes faster than it takes to say good morning in French. So good morning to you all. Let me be straightforward about BPI France, our history, and our mission in Africa, and obviously our priorities regarding Nigeria. BPI France is the French Public Investment Bank, meaning that it is encoded in our DNA to support and finance the French economy. And if you will, we are France's one-stop shop for entrepreneurs. And to that purpose, we heavily invest in tech and innovation, either in venture capital funds, either directly, and we are shareholder to most of the French unicorns, more than 5 billion euro invested last year on that segment. And to date, we are proud to be Europe's most active private equity investor, so in terms of numbers of deals. In France, it's also about supporting and financing what we call re-industrialization under the leadership of President Macron. This is a major priority in France. Now, abroad and in Africa, we live to support and finance trade, to finance French companies and directly as well their partners. And here our superpower is our regional network of regional offices all across France. We got 50 of them, 50, all across the country, meaning that in a couple of calls, emails, we can connect African companies, African entrepreneurs with suitable and hopefully competitive French partners, and finance subsequent contracts from as low as 1 million euro at very competitive rates. So we do finance directly African and Nigerian SMEs. Now in Nigeria, our main priority, and this is precisely what John was saying as an introduction, our main priority is to boost and finance business development between Nigerian companies, Nigerian entrepreneurs, to support tech, innovation, and industrialization. And we do that alongside the French institutional business team, obviously the Chamber of Commerce under the leadership of Economic Services, and obviously in close collaboration with the Nigeria-France Business Council. And Nigeria being the leading economy of the continent, I hope there is no South African nationals in the room. Nigeria being the leading economy of the continent, obviously the untapped potential for French company is just phenomenal.
Monsieur le chargé d'affaires, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's a great pleasure and a great honor for me to be here today to address these keynotes to you. It's also kind of a stressful situation because I'm filling in for my director, Ambassador Emmanuel Blattman. For those who don't know her, she's our former ambassador to Nigeria. And let's say that she's very passionate about the relationship between France and Nigeria. So I have a lot of pressure under my shoulder to fill in for her and to be at the level she's expecting me to be to give this speech to you. And also, let's say that she's also very keen to expect from my service, the Department for West Africa, to deliver about this friendship between France and Nigeria. And the question that was asked to us today is how we go from opportunities to concrete actions. And to be transparent with you, I think this is exactly what the work of a diplomat is. How do we transform the big policy orientation of our government, of our head of states, into concrete actions on the ground, into concrete projects? I can, again, this coming from a civil servant and not any kind of civil servant, a diplomat can leave some of you skeptical, but really our everyday job is to make those things happen. How do we transform opportunities? How do we transform intentions into concrete actions? I think one important step, and I think we have a lot of questions to raise to answer this question, and most of them will be also answered during all the panels we have today. The first question is how we identify these opportunities. I won't go back to what has been said by all the precedent speakers. I think the potential of France and the potential of Nigeria is tremendous. And it's very clear for us that working together can help us achieve very important things. Nigeria is a key player in Africa. It's also a very creative economical ecosystem, and it can really bring us a lot of solutions on what we can do together. Also, but it's not enough to think of it would be interesting to work together, or we could work together. The second question is, what is our interest to work together? And I think it's very important we talk about our shared interest and also our shared values with Nigeria. We have, Nigeria is a real key geopolitical partner for France. We have a lot of shared interest, of shared values in West Africa, and Nigeria is now heading ECOWAS, and it's a very important thing for us. And also, we have to we are looking for partnerships that are answering the needs and the expectations of our population and of our youth. And it's very important that we work on this win-win partnership, and that we work on expressing our interests, why we want to work together.
Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining us today for this event, the Spotlight Nigeria event. It's great to have you all. As Abiodun said, I will be moderating the plenary session where we're going to take a deep dive into the ever-evolving business relationship between France and Nigeria. And to do so, of course, I need panelists, so I want to welcome each of our panelists to the stage where we will be going on with this discussion. So the first person that will be joining me on stage is Mr. Etienne Guiraud. So if you could please join me on stage. He is the president of the French Council of Investors in Africa. Please give him a warm welcome. Hello, Mr. Etienne. Thank you so much for joining us today. Also joining me on stage is Mounia Aloz, who is the head of Africa, the Africa desk at Business France. If you could also join me on stage, please give him a warm welcome as well. Also, one of our panelists is Yves Bastesi, who is the regional manager at BPI France. Could you also give him a warm welcome? Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here because I think it is the fourth or the fifth time I participate to this event. So thank you very much for your implication in the development of the French-Nigerian business. I am Etienne Guiraud and I'm in charge of the SIAN, which is an association bringing together roughly all the French companies operating in Africa. We have 150 members covering roughly 80% of the French business in Africa, which means 60 billion euros of turnover per year, which is huge. And it shows the importance of the African continent for the French economy. We are covering all the countries, African countries, and all the sectors. Contrary to the permanent idea that the French companies are very much involved in Francophone countries, the truth is different. The three first countries for France are English-speaking countries: South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt. Egypt is not exactly and fully English-speaking, but it's not French-speaking. So that is what we are doing, and I'm very happy to be here.
Great, thank you so much.
Hello everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm very pleased to participate to this event. I know very well the founders of Friends of Nigeria, since I was based in Lagos for 5 years, where I was heading the office of Business France. So basically, to put it in a nutshell, Business France is the French agency in charge of helping French companies to export, to grow abroad, connect with international partners. I'm currently coordinator for Africa based in Paris, since I'm back from Nigeria in 2022. And as I said, on the continent, we cover roughly 20 countries. We are based in 10 countries. And we help, as I said, French businesses to connect with reliable, reputable partners all over Africa and in Nigeria specifically. And we also help African businesses and investors in particular to invest in France. We facilitate the execution of their project here in France. So these are our main two missions, and of course we collaborate with all the services of, I would say, the Team France Export, alongside BPI, for instance. I will let Yves introduce the way we collaborate, and yeah, that's pretty everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Hello. So my name is Yves. I'm very happy to be here with you and to share the stage with Etienne and Mounir, who are partners of BPI Friends, strong partners on the continent. I was previously based in Abidjan, in the regional office of BPI Friends in Abidjan, covering Nigeria, and I've been appointed regional manager in Eastern and Southern Africa a few months ago, but I still work in supporting business ties in between French companies and their Nigerian counterparts. So very happy to be here. I think it's the third time in a row that we are participating to Friends of to Spotlight Nigeria. There's 5 or 6 of us in the room. So as you know, BPI France stands for French Public Investment Bank. Our mandate in France is to support the development of French companies, from startups to large caps. So we have 5,000 employees in France, 50 regional offices. Arnaud said it earlier, which means we can reach entrepreneurs and banks everywhere in France, which is kind of unique for a public organization in France. And more importantly, we have 10 regional offices overseas, and their mandate is precisely to support business ties in between French companies and their counterparts on the continent, and to connect ecosystem. Between France and Nigeria, maybe we could host our panelists before I continue my intervention.
Sure. So Princess Zara Mustafa Odu has just joined us on the stage. Thank you so much for joining us. You are the technical advisor to the president, Nigerian president, on foreign direct investment. Thank you so much for joining us on stage.
Thank you. Thank you. So the relationship in between France and Nigeria, business-wise, is quite strong. It was said before, Nigeria, I think, is the first trading partner in volume in sub-Saharan Africa for France. My understanding is that it attracts 60% of French foreign direct investments in sub-Saharan Africa, yet we believe the relationship is untapped. And when we talk to our client base in France, some companies that we know very well sometimes are somehow reluctant in investing into Nigeria, and our mandate is precisely to de-risk their investments in Nigeria. So we'll be most happy to talk about it in a minute on this panel and explain how we do this.
Yves, thank you so much. If you just present yourself, introduce. Yes.
Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Princess Zahra Mustafa Audu, Technical Advisor to the President on Foreign Direct Investment, and it's a pleasure to be here today. I thank the organizers of this event, the Friends of Nigeria and the Bridge and organization. And of course, I'm happy to be here once more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you could just tell us a bit about what you do.
Well, basically what we do is, Nigeria as a country, I think with the new administration coming in, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, our president sees himself as our chief marketing officer for driving foreign direct investment into Nigeria. And he's very passionate about showing our foreign investors that Nigeria is open for business. So what I do typically is I support Mr. President. We try and create or partner with other organizations to host investment forums, investment summits, opportunities. What we do at the presidential level for major investors is we try and get rid of all the bottlenecks. We know when you're coming to a new country, there are challenges with agencies, government institutions, regulations, policies, etc. There are numerous challenges when major investors are coming in. So what we typically do is we try and handhold major investors. So there's a threshold before I would come into play. There would be a threshold, a minimum amount you would be willing to invest in the country, and we try and make it as seamless as possible. We also work with, sometimes we work on specific investment opportunities and create incentives that attract investors to areas that we have challenges or areas that we want to concentrate on. So that's the main thing that we do at the presidential level.
Yeah. Great, thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Justin Mariam, the director of the Paris branch of the Access Bank UK Limited. So I will be speaking about Access Bank UK, the head office in London and also the branch in Paris. Next slide, please. I will introduce you to our corporate philosophy. So our vision is to be the most respected African bank in the world. Our mission is to setting standards for sustainable business practices that unleash the talents of our employees, deliver superior value to our customers, and provide innovative solutions for the markets and communities we serve. Our core values are leadership, excellent, empowered employees, passion for customers, professionalism, and innovation. So a quick view of the Access Bank UK. The English subsidiary was set up 16 years ago in London with shareholders' funds of 20 million pounds. Today, shareholders' funds of the Access Bank UK are more than 700 million USD. Total balance sheet more than 4 billion USD. Revenues above 200 million USD and net profit about 100 million USD. The Access Bank UK is involved in the African business, having operations in trade finance transactions between Africa and the rest of the world, corporate banking, commercial banking, retail banking, business banking. There is also activities in the private banking and asset management. We also have operations with treasury for placements and deposits. And there are more than 200 people working for the Access Bank UK. All the development in the African territory are done by Access Bank PLC, so based in Lagos. All the international development is managed by the UK subsidiary. So the Paris branch is part of the international division of the group, as well as Dubai, Hong Kong, and other locations. So to be more specific about the Paris branch was created more than 2 years ago with the objective to serve or to manage commercial transactions, especially between French corporates and African countries. I mean sub-Saharan countries, so from Dakar to South Africa. So we work with French companies having business in those countries, and we are more specialized in the trade finance transactions. So for example, a French company who wants to sell or to contract with Nigeria, we are in a position to confirm export LCs issued by Nigerian banks and to provide discounting. We also provide treasury services and FX products. So I will be happy to discuss with you after the panel to give you more information about our businesses. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Ambassador, and ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here, and I will be making a very brief presentation on developing Africa through private capital. And essentially, I'll be taking us through the story of what Emerging Africa has done in the past 6.5 years. Next slide, please. So this is a vision birthed and nurtured in the heart of Lagos, Nigeria, Africa's most populous country. And next slide. Okay, so you need to go, yeah. And then the next slide. How it started. January 2018. We observed a significant gap in funding access to SMEs and to our communities across Nigeria. The funding that was available was mainly bank loans. And bank loans by nature, obviously, are not ideal for long-term development projects. And so we found that they were grossly inadequate, and they were inaccessible to a lot of the MSMEs and SMEs that we wanted to serve, because they did not have the traditional requirements like collateral to present. Interestingly enough, one of the tech companies that we recently raised over ₦1 billion commercial paper for came to us, the founder came to us in tears a couple of years ago, because he said that all his investments were in technology assets and people, and he did not have any collateral to present to banks, and so he was not able to fund his business. Those were the kind of stories we were hearing. Now, tenors were typically far too short for the SMEs. And
morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Toyin. So we can go into the slides. I'm here to speak to the Nigerians in the room, as well as the investors in the room, for opportunities, sell Nigeria, sell Providus Bank, and see how we can get you to invest back to Nigeria. All right. So I'm sure the big question is, who are we? Because we're quite new, right? So we're Providus Bank. We're 8 years old. However, we've been in the industry long before Providus Bank. We're known as United Mortgage. We were never bought over, but we metamorphed into a commercial bank. We got the license June 14, 2016 from CBN, and from then we have been growing. So I'm sure recently we were in the news, a lot of people were like, oh, but I'm sure everybody, like the oldies in the room, will know Unity Bank. Providus Bank bought over Unity Bank. So we were like a little fish that swallowed the big elephant. So we're that strong in the industry, and we're the new giants in Nigeria that a whole lot of the old traditional banks are actually scared of. We started diaspora banking in 2022, and within 2022 till date, we've been able to establish a strong footing in the UK, a footing in the States, and we're hoping we can do that as well here in Paris. In the UK 2022 to 2024, we have a footprint of over 3,600 new customers who are investing in Nigeria, and I will tell you how they're investing in Nigeria. We're sitting well over, from the diaspora market, we've been able to inflow over 10 billion naira, over $2-3 million over the same spread, both in FX, that's euro and in pounds. So all I'm just trying to say with these figures is Nigeria is a very good place to invest, and investors who are investing in Nigeria are not regretting their choices, right? So basically it's, okay, let me use my phone. Okay. So I think I've gone through this already. I've gone through this, I've passed all of this. So the key difficult challenge is there's difficulty in sending remittances back to Nigeria. So most people say there's always this challenge of sending monies back to Nigeria, or as a diasporan, I live in the UK, I live in Paris, I live, anywhere in the world. How do I get my monies back to Nigeria? So most people will tell you that they have to use the IMTs, and there's a high cost of inflows of money, from the diaspora back to Nigeria. So what we have done is we have been able to partner and collaborate through our intermediary bank, right, our correspondent bank, to ensure that there's seamless inflows from your monies what you get in the diaspora, which comes back to Providus Bank. So there's like a seamless interface. You send money, there's like almost a 24 hours instant receivable in your account, in Providus Bank. Please be a bank. So we're here to speak to you that you can also invest back to Nigeria through Providus Bank, because your funds must definitely pass through a bank. So we're telling you that we're strong, we're accessible, we're reliable. We're doing this in the UK already. We're doing this in the States. And I would end by saying, the old saying in Nigeria that I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that Providus Bank is the bank to bank with. Thank you.
Nevertheless, it feels like, welcome to the stage. It feels like a page has been turned. Investors are coming back. We saw Coca-Cola announce $1 billion of investment recently. There are new things happening in the energy sector. We've finally got the agreements for some of the sell-offs from the international oil companies for some of those new up-and-coming companies, not so new anymore, people like Shoreline, people like Seplat, who are now multi-billion-dollar operators. And so I guess the big theme of this report about Nigeria Inc. is that there are increasingly, 10, 20 Nigerian blue chips who have world-class standards and who are themselves expanding out of Nigeria. And if I were a European investor myself, I'd want partners who had those kinds of skills. And I think we're seeing that in some of the interesting partnerships that are going on today. And I'm lucky to be joined by 3 organizations who represent that desire of Nigerian corporates to go beyond the boundaries of the country. And maybe I'll start with you, Justin. So you opened a couple of years ago, you were saying, we heard your presentation, but perhaps you can tell us, without naming names, what is the typology of your clients? What kind of individuals and companies would come to Access, the Paris branch of Access, and what exactly are they looking for?
So only the French corporate, only the French branch.
Yeah, only the French branch, or you can talk about the UK branch too, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I will start with the African customers. So Access Bank PLC is one of the biggest bank in Nigeria. So I think we're maybe number 3. So created more than 25 years ago. So we are one of the first bank of the country involved in the whole sector and all banking services. We had the UK subsidiary, so set up more than 15 years ago, banking with corporates, individuals, and also financial institutions. And the Paris branch is dedicated for French corporates only, so no individuals at the moment. And we also work with African banks, so located in sub-Saharan Africa.
So if I was a big French oil company or oil services company,
you should knock at the door.
I should knock at your door. Fantastic. Well, unfortunately, I'm not. Toyin, it'd be nice to have a sense of the Nigerian diaspora. I imagine in your role, you have a fantastic database of Nigerian individuals and corporates in the diaspora. How do you put that together? I learned this morning that the Nigeria diaspora in the US is about 100,000 strong, mostly in Texas, but also Maryland and the rest. How do you target them? What's your sort of commercial strategy?
That's a very big question.
Trade secrets as well.
I know, right? Okay, so the very first thing you look at is an average Nigerian is scared to deal with anybody. So you need to break the trust. So the first thing you do is look for the people in whom they trust, which is mostly the high commissions. Nigerians have a very strong connection to home. So they're always looking for that bridge back home. Hence the reason why at Previous Bank, we themed diaspora banking, building a bridge back home. So the home for every Nigerian in the diaspora is the High Commission, the embassy. When they get into trouble, they want to run back to the embassy because they know the embassy is the home away from home, right? So we build a strong relationship with the embassies in these countries or these nations where we, partner and collaborate. And then from the embassy, they point us into the direction of the associations that you're supposed to deal with. Now, like I also mentioned, well, we have Nigerians in this room, like you said, trade secret, right? There's also a community in Nigeria headed by Honorable Abike Dabiri, which is NIDCOM. So every registered Nigerian community or association is registered with NIDCOM. So once you're dealing with the embassy, you're definitely dealing with the registered associations in the diaspora, and then you start your journey from there. Once you pitch to the leaders, we like listening to leaders. We're like followers. Once the leader speaks, we follow, right? So once you are able to get this key points, like you mentioned, it's a trade secret. Please, whatever stays in the room, whatever you hear in the room stays in the room. Yeah, and then you go from there.
Fantastic. Tony, let's talk about those big macro reforms. Have we got through the most painful part? Are global investors in the financial sector or outside of the financial sector looking at the Nigeria story differently? Interesting to see that Jamie Dimon will be coming to Nigeria in October.
That's a very good question, and also a very nuanced question, right? Because we have to speak realistically, but we also have to stay positive. I would say the worst in the short term, the worst in terms of the effects that are being felt, because again, these are shocks that were necessary, but at the same time, we've had, these instruments in place, these supports for a long time. So there is going to be sort of a healing period. So in the short term, I would say we haven't seen the end of it, so we might still experience some of the cues that you mentioned. But I would say, even just looking at the global reaction, there definitely has been a positive effect to the way global investors are now seeing Nigeria. I know you mentioned, I think at the start of this year, we saw the greatest increase in capital inflows in comparison with the same quarter, the first quarter of last year. I believe we had about $3.4 billion in capital inflows, including FDIs and FPIs, whereas that same period last year, we had just about $1.1 billion. That again communicates that global investors are seeing this as, okay, there's going to be shocks in the short-term period, but it is a positive signal in saying that we are ready for change. And so I do expect to see, increased capital inflows if the administration can get the inflationary pressures under control, as well as the FX volatility. They have continued to tackle it. We've seen rising interest rates, and that is, one of the measures that they are putting in place to tackle it. And so if they can get that under control, I expect, that effect of increased FPIs and increased FDIs to continue. Another thing to look out for would also to be, which the administration actually has been pushing to do, is to improve the ease of doing business within the country. That again, would contribute to the attractiveness of global investors to come into the country, as well as, freer capital control measures. Again, because, it's a higher yield in investment market right now, especially in comparison with, I believe the US, they just announced a eventual decrease in the Federal Reserve's rates, and that makes investment in Nigeria very attractive. But at the same time, investors want to know that when they're repatriating those returns, the FX volatility wouldn't essentially just erode everything. So if we can get those inflationary measures under control, as well as, improve the FX situation, which, the administration is working on measures to do, I believe that, this is a long-term positive movement, and we are going to continue to see positive inflows from global investors. Thank you.
Fantastic. And
very quickly, I would like to call on stage for the next panel session our panelist, Monsieur Jean-Pierre Lucas, who is the chairman of Marlin Invest and Reef Agro. Monsieur Jean-Pierre. Mr. Abdul Basir Jagaba. All right, good. A round of applause, please. Thank you. Miss Clara Jimenez of BPI France. Thank you. And Mr. Lanre Osifesa of Green Hills Kasama Farmstead. Yeah. Good afternoon once again, everyone, and welcome to the agricultural panel. This session will very quickly explore investment opportunities within the agricultural sector of Nigeria, which happens to be the highest employer of labor in the country and contributes significantly to the GDP of the country. I'm not the expert in the sector, so I will not talk too much, but I'll let my panelists introduce themselves, starting from Ms. Clara from BPI France.
Thank you so much for having me, BPI France again, third panelist of the morning. Well, I guess my title is development advisor, which means a lot and nothing at the same time, but I'm mainly an agricultural engineer and very much interested in livestock and husbandry. And so I work in the regional office of BPI in Ivory Coast, which is only in Ivory Coast for the moment, but we are covering Nigeria from there at the moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Jagaba from Abja, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abdul Basir Abubakar, the CEO of Abjar Agricultural Processing Nigeria Limited. We are the leading force in the agricultural sector in terms of manufacturing of so many agricultural products such as processing of soya beans in solvent extraction plant, and also we are into vegetable oil refinery. We are also into the cotton ginning. We are also into the feed mill production, and so many. We are running 10 different industries which are existent, which we started since 2004 to date. Actually, also we are into the export of various agricultural products, such as what we produce, like soybeans meal, also sesame seeds, hibiscus flower, ginger, and also the soybean seed. We have done a turnover of almost 40,000 metric tons as at 2023/2024, and we are still into it. Also, we have more than 928 workers, skills and unskills. Also, we have a turnover of $230 million per annum as at our last balance sheet. So we are here to introduce ourselves. We have many more to say, but let me give chance for the gentleman beside.
I'm J.P. Lucas, and unfortunately 52 years of experience with Nigeria. 52 because unfortunately because it's too long away, and I've still the future in front of me. I try to be a link between Nigeria and France in the agricultural sector. The agriculture represents 26% of the GNP in Nigeria. It employs about 60% of the population, which shows a relatively low rate of productivity. And our part is to try to improve this productivity rate. I have built in France a chain of companies who are ready to come and to invest in Nigeria in order to add the local productivity, add local added value, transfer of know-how, and joint venture. We have the same work to be done with the Nigerian companies. We have a small company which is called RIF, which makes mainly insemination, and we have already succeeded for 4,000 insemination with a rate of 80 to 90%. Unfortunately, after 2 or 3 months, there is a lot of abortion because lack of adequate feed, and it's the reason why we try to improve the chain from the proper local raw material with maize and other cotton cake or things like that. But with that, we had in France, which improved considerably the productivity of the animals. And after that, we have sanitary work. We have also a collection of milk in order to secure the milk to the yogurt farm in safety conditions. All that has to be built with another company which makes microfinance in order to make all the chain productive and efficient. Thank you.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, or should I say, yes, good morning. My name is Olarinwaju Oshifeso, and I am the Managing Director of Green Hills Cassava Farmstead. My agricultural journey started about 8 years ago when I was working with my father on his farm. He has a cashew plantation, so I was his managing director, and it's a large cashew plantation of 1,000 acres of land. And you might ask, why cassava? So while working with my dad on his cashew plantation, I remember at some point they gave us a bill to clear the grass because the cashew trees are planted 9 meters apart due to the canopies, the canopies of the trees. So I thought, how can we mitigate against this? Because if we have this large amount of money just for land, just to clear the grass within the farm, within the next 3-4 months, this is going to grow again. So how can we mitigate against that? And I came up with a strategy on the farm to plant cassava in between the cashew trees. And I chose cassava because it's a dogged plant. It's a crop that can grow literally. I'm sure if you plant cassava here, just a joke, it would grow. So it's not as sensitive as crops like maize and every other that needs proper care and irrigation and all of that. So that strategy worked, and we decided to open up a cassava farm, and I opened up that farm. I took a loan of about then 150 million naira, and we were able to set up 100 acre. We started with 20 hectares, which is about 50 acres of land, and we were able to grow that up strategically to 100 acres, hectares, which is about 250 acres of land, and we planted the cassava. It did so well, and we decided to now grow that, and the Abia State government came to us and offered us 20,000 hectares of land. The Ogun State government have offered us 2,000, so by next year we're looking at scaling up to 2,000 because we'll start with the Ogun State before going to Abia State. And it's suffice to say that we have paid back the loan, and we are about our last audited statement, we are about $650,000 strong, as a business, with the loan fully paid back. What our key products are cassava and maize. We're also going into soya production by next year. And why did we decide to do maize and soya? Because these are crops that cassava is more of an annual crop. Once you plant your cassava, it gives you a minimum of 10 months before you can actually harvest that. I remember the only guys who used to purchase cassava from us at 6 months were these guys, this Indian company, Songwater, that used the cassava for snacks, just to, so they needed the cassava to be very soft. So we used to sell to them very immature cassava roots, which wasn't profitable to us, but for business, and then I looked at it as a business. We need to see how we can be generating revenue, quarterly, etc. And that was why we decided to integrate maize into our business. And that has done very well. We have the likes of Nestle approaching us. We are off-takers, flour mills of Nigeria, and we have also, for the soya, we have a lot of international bodies. We have a partnership with the Netherlands Food Program. I'm part of the association, so in the Netherlands, and they're looking at how we can export a lot of the soya beans, to them as well. Why we decided to have such a large farm is because we're considering processing. Because what's the purpose of having so much production or crops without adding value to it? So we are looking at doing cassava starch, food grade and pharmaceutical grade starch. You might not understand, but when you have your drug, in a layman's term, cassava starch is the white coating you have on your medicine. If you have the Panadol, or I don't know if they call it Panadol in Europe, but all those, the white coating is what we have. The cassava starch is also a binding ingredient for seasoning cubes, etc. So we are doing that, food grade and pharmaceutical grade starch. It will be a 50-ton per day processing factory. And we are also a registered business in Tanzania. Because our key focus is sustainability and scalability as well. So we have registered business under the umbrella in Tanzania, where we are looking at setting up a 100-hectare cassava farm for sorbitol, which is the gel that is used in making your toothpaste. And also we are in talks with a company in Angola. It's a farm that has run down there on 4,000 acres, and they've set up, sorry. Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Orishema Tosan Edodo Emore. I'm an international maritime lawyer. I practice law in Lagos. I'd like to start by commending the excellent work that I see that the MD of Abja is doing, and Mr. Osifeso. I think that your stories are not only outstanding, they're really fantastic. And it's really encouraging that you are pushing such huge numbers, and we appear not to be noticing that in Nigeria. I'm very happy that you are here, because your work shows the world that not only is Nigeria dynamic in spite of the difficulties, but the exceptional talents in that country, and we're very proud of you. I applaud you. And my question is for the two of you. I would like to know, first of all, the MD of Abja, where your industries are located, because you didn't mention what state they are located. And no, before you answer, I would also like to know whether you had support, institutional support from your state government. You must be in some state. Whether you had support from your state government, and what it is that drove you and gave you the impetus to do all of the things that you are doing. And then for you, Mr. Osifeso, I'd like to know whether, I know that you say you are planting cassava inside of where you're planting cocoa also. I'd like to know whether you're also adding value to this cassava now. Is it turning, besides Gary or anything, is it turning into other things that are exportable? I'd like to know that. Thank you.
You have three questions that I'm going to answer. The first one, we are located at Katsina State, Funtua local government, and we have some branches, mainly in Kano, in the northern state, Kano State. The second question you asked is whether we have been supported by either state or federal government, which I can clearly say no. We can, the only support we have is what every Nigerian is enjoying. The sovereignty of our country, then the security, all other, that every other citizen is enjoying. That's what we are. But financially or any other sector, we have never received any support. I can recall, we have a rice mill in 2018, when we had meeting with CBN governor, that rice was 46,000 per bag, and he wants us to bring it down according to his quotation to 30,000. I raised a motion that some of us are getting finance from the commercial banks with high interest rates, which he's going to give us a loan with, I think, 5% interest rate or something like that. I had never applied for such, but when he said his ambition is to cut down the cost, I did, and I got it, but the way I see, we have gotten the money, but in a wrong way. I have to take it back to him. Directly I said, okay, I have been operating, and this is your aims. The aims cannot be achieved because the paddy price is going high more. It's better for you to mobilize some people for farming. If you can inject money for that, we can take it. Till he has not been able to change the mud. But actually, I have never received any other assistance. It's just now that we are thinking of this power plant. And sorry to say, I used to take my request sometimes to the government because I also play in politics, support some other politicians. By the way, for fertilizer operating, that is, which is also, I invested in it, and the government called us, I can recall, in 2016 for the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, where I discussed with late Al-Bakari that he wanted me, when we submit our request for other ways, he said he wanted me to invest in fertilizer, which I said, okay, how do you want? He said he wanted to do PFI, which I invested. They have been bringing their fertilizer, we blend for them, they sell to the farmers at William Fry's, which ended in 2020, which they said we have to buy the raw material and operate on ourselves, which we are onto it. Initially, we were only up to, I think, 300,000 metric tons per annum. But when they change it for restructured PFI that we have to invest on ourselves, that is when we turn to 860 something metric tons, which is my personal investment.
Yeah.
So the last question you asked was, I think
you've answered the questions. Right?
No, she asked 3
There's
questions.
another one?
Yeah. But if are you okay with my explanation?
Yeah.
Because you are the one that asked.
I think you've pretty much touched on it. And
okay, let me stop here. I see you are watching the time.
All right.
But you hide one of our questions. It's you that make it to behave.
Don't worry. I'll take you to Miha after, and then you respond to that in more details. Mr. Larry, very quickly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
thank you very much, madam. We have our farms in Ogun State. It's a 100-hectare farm, like I clearly stated. We have, for those who don't really know the geographical map of Nigeria, the Ogun State is in the southwestern part of the country, and we are scaling that up as well to 2,000 by next year. We produce cassava. Currently, what we do is sell the raw cassava tubers to Premier Feeds. He also said that we sell raw cassava tubers to Premier Feed. That is a sub of Flour Mills Nigeria. But what we're looking at doing is to set up a cassava processing, a cassava starch processing facility, which will be a 50 ton per day facility. We're doing that by the end of next year. We're already discussing with the guys who are fabricating the equipment. It's a German company, and I think I'm off.
Okay. You asked a lot of questions, right? So I'll make sure the panelists meet you after. Yeah. And very quickly, you wanted to say something? Yes.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ogunyemi. I'm the MD of NEPSA in Nigeria, Nigeria Export Processing Zone Authority. The question this legal lady asked you about financial support just made me want to make a comment, just a comment, that first of all, what you guys are doing regarding adding value to our basic agricultural products is excellent. It's just what the country wants, needs right now. And everybody would like to encourage you in that. The products you have mentioned, sesame, ginger, soya, cassava, there's a whole lot of them. The former Director General of the Export Promotion Council, who is now is the Secretary to the African Free Trade Agreement, Mr. Segun Awolowo, gave me a list of about 20 items, and all these items you're discussing are on that list that need to be added, value added for export purposes especially. Now my comment regarding your financial support, that are you aware that 2 days ago there was a huge meeting in Abuja sponsored by the African Development Bank, and they've set aside about $500 million to support agro-processing zones. I was supposed to be at that meeting. I was unable to attend. I sent a delegate, one of my directors, to attend. The Minister of Finance was there. So this is a discussion, because I see your agricultural process in Nigeria. We are starting to look into creating agricultural processing zones, which is similar to free trade zones that that I represent and my colleague here represent. So I think that's a discussion. Don't give up on finance. The money is there, and it's coming big from African Development Bank, one of them. I'm sure there are other banks as well. So you need to key into that discussion. It's the future of agriculture in Nigeria to create these zones. This is an opportunity for you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abamanga Usman Jada. I bring you greetings from the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority. The Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority is a regulatory agency of government that is saddled with the responsibility to manage, develop, administer, license operators within the nation's oil and gas free zones. We are here today to discuss with prospective investors and to mention to them on what we offer and what we have. It is interesting to note that the best place to do business in Nigeria is in the free zones. My elder brother, the MD of NEPSA, will attest to it. If you are operating within the nation's free zones, you will be exempted from paying taxes. As a foreign investor, you don't have to pay import duties, and you are also exempted from all taxes, custom duties, and you can repatriate your capital 100%. And we operate zero expatriate quota. You will bring all the technical people that you believe in their capacity to handle your operations to do that. We have no objections. And also, whatever you produce within the zones, you can export it 100%. And if you want to sell your product to the domestic market, that is the custom territory, you also have access 100%. And Nigeria is a very big market. It's a market of over 230 million people. I have listened to my sisters from the financial institution in Nigeria. They have spoken well. The first speaker spoke about SMEs not having access to capital and women inclusivity. It is interesting to note that this government had laid down policies to encourage women entrepreneurs and also to support our youth to engage into entrepreneurial activities. The Bank of Industry is doing wonderfully well in that aspect. And the two other ladies, the lady from Providos, made mention clearly that Providos is a solid bank. And I want our investors to know that the Nigerian financial institutions are very solid and are very strong. And the present administration has recognized the importance of making them solid in terms of liquidity base, making them solid in terms of having higher loanable facilities so that they can be able to issue out facilities at a lower rate to prospective investors so that they can be able to do business at a low interest rate and then make profit, expand, and create jobs within the system. The presenters who presented on the agricultural activities, Nigeria is a big country with over 34 million hectares of fertile and arable land. Nigeria has the capacity to feed the whole of Africa and have surplus to export to the other part of the world. The market is big. So we invite you to invest in our agricultural sector. The market is there, and there are returns on investment. And also, the other brother of mine who spoke about challenges that we have in the power sector. The government has already put in the right policies to attract investors into the power sector by streamlining the forex and also by getting rid of the subsidies. With this, any investor who invests in the Nigerian power sector will be able to maximize his return on investment. And the present government is key in supporting investment in power and other renewable energies. The government is also supporting green investment into the nations. And at the authority, we have attracted a lot of investment recently that has to do with green investment. For instance, we were able to attract investors in our zone in Akwa Ibom, who is to produce 348,000 metric tons of green and blue hydrogen. That investment alone is capable of creating millions of jobs, and the investment is capable of turning Nigeria into the center for blue and green hydrogen in Africa. And in terms of relationship between Nigeria and the European community, in business and in diplomacy, is near perfect. Therefore, I encourage the European community to look into Nigerian market. The market is big, and the return on investment is promising. We encourage you to come and invest, and if you invest within our zones, you will be exempted from paying taxes, you will be exempted from custom duties. And the importance of exemption from custom duties, if you are constructing your own production plan or any operational platform, all the equipment you are bringing into the country will come at import duty free. That means the cost of setting up the platform will be lower. And that's another way of encouraging you to reduce your factor cost and to ensure that you make profit out of your investment. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. The Oil and Gas Free Zone Authority will be also available for a direct B2B engagement. We know we are behind schedule, so I want to crave your indulgence. We started a little late behind time just because some of our delegates arrived late. As a matter of fact, we had some of them who came directly from the airport. So we're going to make it up to you, and that's with a sumptuous lunch meal. So please bear with us if we just go a few minutes past the time of the lunch, which is on the program 1 p.m. We have just 2 major panels to still finalize the engagement. And once we are done with that, we'll all go for lunch, and then the rest of the day will be for the B2B and networking. So I'm asking and I'm pleading that just give us a few minutes extra grace beyond 1 p.m. to finish the entire panel session. We're going to allow the MD, also of NEPSR, MD CEO, to also come up and give his brief remarks. Dr. Olufemi Ogunyemi, please let's make him welcome as he speaks to us about NEPSR.
Thank you, Biodun. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adunuga, can't we have the lunch now? And I can talk later. I've been asked to just fill in for a few minutes, fill in the gap before the next panel comes up. And my brother and colleague, Mr. Bamanga Jada, as the CEO of OXA, has said most of what goes on in free trade zones, all the incentives we offer and all that. I'll just say a few things about my agency, the Export Processing Zone Authority, and what we do. For a start, the name of my agency is outdated. We're going to change it. Export Processing Zones have migrated to free trade zones. They've migrated to special economic zones. So NEPSA was formed by an act of the military government back in 1992. So our enabling legislation is outdated, and we have reviewed it, and we shall hopefully change the name to be more appropriate as a special economic zone. Really, I'm here to try and attract investors to my country. In the last couple of months, NEPSA has brought in, probably just in the last 8 to 12 weeks, about $5 billion worth of investment into Nigeria from different companies. What we do at NEPSA, we license, we support you to establish a free trade zone, and unfortunately, we regulate you as well. Our free trade zones mostly focus on manufacturing, big industry. When NEPSA was formed, the idea was to industrialize Nigeria. So most of our free trade zones are for manufacturing. We have some for services, and we have a little bit of retail as well. And at the moment, we're working on the very first digital free trade zone in sub-Saharan Africa. Like I said, the CEO of OXA has said all the benefits and incentives associated with the free trade zone. There's one other one
There's one other one. We make it easy. After you have come and you have licensed and you have established your free trade zone, we make it easy for you to do business. This agency acts as a one-stop shop. All government agencies, customs, the inland revenue, immigration, they're supposed to, according to our act, approach you through us. And you too, the zone operators and the enterprises within, I'll explain that in a second, you communicate with them through us. So we simplify your bureaucracy. And also the president formed a committee called the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC. I'm on that committee. The committee is chaired by the vice president. And this committee, I think it's a council, not a committee. Yeah, the primary mandate is to make it easy, because there's a global ease of doing business index, which Nigeria had not scored very highly in. We're improving. Our scores are going up now. Just to make it easier for businesses to perform, to register, to go through all the licensing and regulations and all that. And part of what this committee does is looking at legislative reform so that customs, immigration, and all these agencies can work in synchrony to make it easier for you to do business. Now, a free trade zone is a geographical area with a mapped out, surveyed parameters, currently fenced. In some countries, they don't fence them anymore. Like in Dubai, they have removed the fencing. But a free trade zone is a fenced area, often large, many hectares, that has all the incentives we talked about. Now, if you want to invest in Nigeria, you can come in as a zone operator to get a zone license. It's an investment, because within your zone, you will have enterprises, which means investors from abroad, from outside the country, can still come in as enterprises or companies within a zone. Those companies within the zone get all the benefits accrued to the zone. So those are two ways you can bring your businesses into a free trade zone. You can come in, apply as a zone operator, or you apply as a company within a zone. I was recently, about 2 weeks ago, at the World Free Zone Organization annual meeting in Dubai. And one of the speakers from the Emirates made a comment when he was talking. Two things I should share with you. One, he said the amount of foreign direct investment that has increased around globally in this year, 2024, the greatest increase was in Africa. The greatest increase of investment coming in was in free trade zones in Africa. That's one. Second thing he said, part of the success, what contributes to the success of a free trade zone is political will. I sort of had an idea about this, but I was surprised it was being said on such a massive global stage. He said it's political will. I now looked at our own situation in Nigeria, and I realized the gentleman was right. You see, our most successful free trade zones are along the Lagos axis. They include the Dangote refinery, the biggest refinery in the entire world. They include Lagos Free Zone, Lekki Free Zone, a place called Ogun-Guandong, which is a couple of those zones are shared between the Nigerian government and the Chinese. And how is that related to political will? Well, these zones are successful because they were guided and nurtured at the time our current president was the governor in that region. So he is now the president. I can assure you the political will and that of his vice president, the political will is 100% plus to support free trade zones. This is just the greatest time. Thank you, thank you. This is really the greatest time to bring your investment, especially in manufacturing, to bring it to my country. I talk too much, so I think I better stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And thanks to NEPSA for the great work you're doing. We're going to go into the oil and gas panel, but due to time constraints, all the remaining panels will be shortened. So be rest assured that we will not go with the initial allotted time, just to make room for the most important part you're waiting for, which is the B2B. So I will make welcome Oyindamola Olusumade, who will take us on the next oil and gas panel for 15 minutes, and then we'll be having the tech panel after that one. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure we're all famished and also looking forward to the B2B, but I'm Oyindamola Olusumade. I'm part of the Friends of Nigeria team. I'm an executive director for Friends of Nigeria. I'd like to invite on stage Dr. Cynthia Eguridu from the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority Nigeria, OGZA. And I would equally like to invite Rodolphe Busha from Total Energies. He is the Vice President, Country Director for Total Energies in Nigeria. Thank you. I'll come closer.
So good afternoon to our panelists. First of all, I'd like for you to do a quick introduction of yourselves and your companies, more or less. So I would invite Our Lady first. Dr. Cynthia, could you kindly... Hi. Hello, Dr. Cynthia. So could you kindly introduce, I know we already had the CEO's presentation of OGZA, so we wouldn't go into details, but in terms of your introduction, what I'd like to have from you is actually what are the incentives that OGZA offers that makes it stand out amongst the free zones in Africa. I know that OGZA was recognized by the Financial Times as the most successful free zone in Africa specifically, and I would love for you to just give us the incentives that make you stand out.
Morning, everyone. This is still morning. Good afternoon. Good morning. Bonjour, Madame, Monsieur. Happy to be here. My name is Dr. Cynthia Eguridu, and I'm a director at the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority. Both my ogas, as they say, have spoken. My MD at OGZA and his counterparts at NEPSA, my two leaders. So I'll just have a quick touch up on what we do as a free zone. The Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority was set up to primarily supervise oil and gas activities in Nigeria free zones. So we're very focused and very specialized. Yes, you're right. The Financial Times FDI magazine gave us the award for being the most successful free zone in Africa. And that's a subjective award. We've also been awarded by PEBEC a few times, being judged first amongst other MDAs for transparency, ease of doing business, and our processes. So in terms of why we're different, first of all, we're specialized. We're also extremely successful. But then as a free zone concept in Nigeria, I was listening to Princess speak, Zara speak, and I'm happy to see you here. I think there's collaborations between your office and what we do in the free zones anyway in terms of attracting foreign direct investments. But just hearing her speak, and in terms of what we offer as a free zone space to investors, incentives primarily, so 0% on your taxes, no taxes at all in the free zone space, zero. Not 1%, not 2%, 0% for life while in the free zones, right? In terms of expatriate quota, you can bring in 100% of your staff from anywhere you are in the world. So for European businesses, you can bring in 100% of your staff from France or from anywhere else. In terms of exports and import duties, zero. Zero import duties, zero export duties. And so it's literally like the MD of NEPSA said, it's a geographical concept or geographical area that is separate from Nigeria. And so our laws are different. And our laws were created to help facilitate and enable businesses to operate. And so if you're coming into Nigeria, we will be your entry point. We will be your access point into Nigeria and the rest of Africa, because we provide a soft landing for you in terms of there's very minimum policy somersaults going on. It is a special economic zone, so you're protected. Like the MD Nebza said, it used to be gated and secure. It is still secure, not so much as gated. For instance, we have one of the largest free zones in Africa, in the Orashi Free Zone. In Liberty Free Zone, about 50,000 hectares of land across 7 local government areas. You can't gate that. It's a lot of land mass. So the concept is changing over time, but the principles are the same. You come into free zone and you're exempt from duties and laws in Nigeria.
Thank you so much for that excellent presentation, almost, of the free zone. And I think that this would lead to my second question for our country director of Total Energies, Vice President, Country Director of Total Energies, Rodolphe. Rodolphe, please could you tell us quickly, is Total Energies present in any free zones around the world? I know they're currently not present in Nigeria as in the Ogza free zone, but are they present is Total present in any of the free zones? And would you, my follow-up question is, would you be considering, setting up in the free zone?
Hello. Yeah, it seems to work. So I'm going to answer shortly to your question, and why shortly? Because as part of as well introducing myself, I'm just moving into this role, so I need to be a bit more conversant to be able to answer to your question. Of course, and maybe to expand a bit more on Total Energies, and thanking you to have invited us to be able to participate to this panel. Total Energies is one of the company that has got a very active business in Nigeria. We have been in Nigeria since 1956 in the marketing area, since 62, 66 for production in the exploration business. So it's been quite a number of years that we've been there and active. The last element that we've done, fortunately, is to take an investment decision in one of the fields that we've got that we are operating in the reverse area, which is called Ubeta. You've seen probably that in a press release some months ago. It was in May that it was done. So active, producing, and as you know, probably when you look into what is being done, actually we're maybe in terms of operated production the largest IOC in Nigeria, covering a lot of what we call terrains, meaning being onshore, being as well offshore, as well as deep water, for which there is a lot of activity.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here. My name is Anu Oyeniro. So I lead business development for Data Science Nigeria. So Data Science Nigeria is Africa's foremost data science and artificial intelligence organization. So what we do at Data Science Nigeria spans from research, community development, capacity building, AI solutions and product development. And we're happy to be here because some of our work, most of our work are in the public domain. And over the years, we've received multiple recognitions award from global organizations. So we've come here in three things. I think over the course of the panel session, I'll make it brief, and I'll also like to at least communicate that so that at the end of this session, those three things are handy and we are sure enough to go with it. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamim. I'm one of the co-founders of Seed South Africa Ventures. We're an early-stage fund supporting startups in Africa. I worked most of my career in and around Africa, and at some point I was an entrepreneur building a business and realized how difficult it is to raise funds and get appropriate support to scale that venture. So that's really the starting point for me into building this fund that today really helps to hopefully build successful ventures on the continent.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Shegunfunmi Oyedele, and I'm the CEO of Raise Digital Services. We're a digital banking as a software platform with the goal of increasing Africans' inclusion in the global financial space. And we've been able to do that through partnerships with different financial partners in Nigeria, in North America, namely the US and Canada. And one of the things that we've been able to do in our 1 month of launch and 2 years of building is right now a Nigerian or a Nigerian business can be in Nigeria, and with just your NIN and your BVN, we can provision a bank account for you with JP Morgan Chase in the United States and with TD Bank in Canada. So you have a bank account in US dollars, you have a bank account in Canadian dollars, and we're hoping to expand to the European side of things very, very soon. And that comes in very handy in the place of all of the repatriation and the remittances back to Africa. Yesterday, I had 2 customers that had over $40,000. They've done a business for some clients in the US worth over $40,000, and they've not been able to receive it. They live in the UK, they have the business in Nigeria. They reached out and were able to provision a bank account for them, and the funds were wired into their bank account through ACH or direct deposit, and now they have the money in Nigeria. So we are helping Africans get banked globally and also increasing the inclusion of Africans in the financial land space, and that's it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Iji Dolakpo, Dolakpo for short. I'm the founder and CEO of TradeFlow Africa. I like to say that at TradeFlow Africa, we work tirelessly to make trade work for everyone. We work to make trade work for individuals, businesses, and governments alike. We're a tech-driven organization. We recently built our main, I would call it our flagship product. It's called Mainport. So similar to how you have airport, you have seaport. So it's an AI-driven solution. It's particularly focused on SMEs. These are small and medium-sized businesses, both in Africa and also in the US. And then we're also then considering French SMEs. However, I'll talk more about that later. Next.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. My name is Masum Jibril from Scala Fintech Limited. We are a payment technology and consulting company that we provide automations and digitizing solutions to both government and private organizations. And looking at the financial exclusion in Nigeria, it was very high before, and we contributed a lot in increasing the financial inclusion, which has been a barrier for economic growth and also eradication of poverty. So we look at there are about 219 million active accounts in Nigeria, and most of people, 90% of those account owners, they have accounts more than in one bank. So basically, there is no single platform that bring all these accounts into one single platform that they can be able to access all their finances without dealing with the bank individually. So Scala was able to come up with a solution that bring all your bank accounts to a single platform and also enable you to have access to a wallet without going through a very rigorous processes as it is happening with the traditional banks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So on the lines of fintech, can you tell us how fintech has impacted financial inclusion in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much. Fintech has been like, I can say, a lead to financial inclusion in Nigeria. Before 2016, before 2020, there are only 4.5 banks for almost 1,000 people in Nigeria, compared to United States and other countries, developed countries, like 26.5% of a bank for 100 people in the country. And then today, we have about 28 commercial banks, 919 microfinance banks, and almost 290 million bank accounts. And most of the transaction that is currently going on in Nigeria, about 5.6 trillion in 2024, it was all done by a digital platform. So So basically, this achievement has brought through a fintech solutions, which before banks were struggling to see how they can get access to their customers or to customers from rural or remote areas. But today with fintech solutions, it has made people to get access to so many financial services, such as insurance, loans, and of course so many business. It was very difficult for them to get access to credit, simply because they are not eligible, and of course like their transactions was purely manual without any digital platform.
Why this fund? We want to help in the penetration of solar energy in the African market. And our conviction was that the bulk of the market would be project between 500 kilowatts and 20 megawatts. Why? Because the electrical grids cannot sustain very large plants of hundreds of megawatts, or you need to reinvest first, so governments needs to launch ambitious plans for electricity transportation. In the meantime, if we want solar to be more present in the grids, we need financial products for those projects of small to medium size. That's what we do. We do loans between $1 to $20 million or euros for solar projects in Africa, as a bank would do. Actually, those who provided funds to AfriGreen are the World Bank, the European Investment Bank, DFIs, commercial banks, and our mission is to do projects which are too small for them. So again, the limit is probably below 20 million. How can we do that? Well, we need to be fast and pragmatic. So we are basically a small team of investment professionals in Paris and in Abidjan, trying to be extremely pragmatic, analyzing your projects, trying to understand them well, doing the due diligence, looking at the financial capacity of the off-takers, the ultimate payers for energy, which are either governments for small utility case projects or industrial companies. We need to make up our judgment very fast so that in a couple of months we can actually deliver a financial instrument which is non-recourse project finance debt, so that we don't ask for collaterals or we don't ask for any other guarantees except the project itself. So that's the plan. In Nigeria, being specific, we'll deploy 30 to 40% of that fund. We have already closed the first project with RenSource. They have built with that money 4 plants for a university in Abuja, a poultry farm in Kaduna State, and pharmaceutical labs in Abuja as well. We are about to sign 2 other projects in Nigeria and hopefully a 4th one before the end of the year.
Okay, so thank you so much for that introduction. I would like to quickly follow up with you and then come back this way. So you fund renewable energy projects between 1 million and 20 million euros in Nigeria. And Nigeria has so much solar potential running into hundreds of gigawatts. What kind of projects specifically? You mentioned that right now utility scale renewable energy projects are not very interesting. Can you specify a little more what kind of projects you are funding right now? I think some members of the audience would be interested to know specifically what kind of projects are you interested in funding?
So you're probably all very familiar with the state of the electricity market in Nigeria. Right now, there aren't any utility scale projects which are considered as bankable. So the attention is on the CNI project. You have a very favorable regulatory framework in Nigeria, which favors what we call the CNI projects, which are solar projects dedicated to commercial and industrial companies. So that's, in my examples, a university in Abuja or a poultry farm in Kaduna State that will be contacting a Nigerian developer like RenSource, Westa, Watt Renewables, and others, obviously. And these Nigerian teams will design a solar plant that will help this business reduce the use of gensets, and so will help reduce the the diesel bill at the end of the month, basically. With that saving, they can obviously afford to pay for the power purchase agreement, and that's how the project owner will be able to repay the 10-year loan that we are offering. Hopefully one day the situation will also favor larger utility scale project. I think that's what your government is aiming at, and I would say reforms are going into the right direction. So if we could also finance project of 10, 20, 30 megawatts, whereby the ultimate client would be a disco. There are discussions these days in the market to see how bankable those projects could be. Discos are not in a very good shape right now, so there is a financial sustainability issue to be solved. Maybe the backing of state governments could help these kind of schemes. I think that's what is in the pipe. That would obviously be very promising and helpful for the sector in the country.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So, Mr. Chigozie, you again are quite familiar with the policies around. What do you think has happened in the last year or the last couple of years that make it really favorable to go into projects like what Mr. Olivier has spoken about?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And I think I also listened to Mr. Olivier with quite a lot of interest. And it's in fact that bottleneck that we're actually trying to solve in Integrated Africa Power. So if you look at the Nigerian landscape, it's not been, of course, things have been improving overhead. But I think that one thing that has really been done very well is to come to a place of more cost-reflective tariffs, okay? So you now remove all those subsidies, and then the existing energies, from gas and other sources can now favorably compete with other sources of energy. Example, solar. In fact, in Nigeria now, electricity generated through solar is actually cheaper than the normal ones.
Because the subsidies have been removed.
Because of the subsidies are now. Of course, this has some effects on the public, right? Of course, there has to be policies to also cushion this. But ultimately, it's actually opening up the market, right? And this is happening more recently with the recent administration. And I think that another thing that has happened very nicely is the decentralization of the regulatory agencies, okay? So especially some agencies have already been cut off from the national, like Enugu State Regulatory Agency, so they're able to actually regionally pay more attention to a particular region. And of course, the utilities themselves have not been so efficient in the past, but now they are being awakened and mandated to actually become more effective by looking to cooperate with other private sectors in order to beef up their generation capacities and also put in more investments in their pipeline. So we have been observing all of these things in the past 1 or 2 years, and actually we are going to demonstrate right now that medium scale investment in the mini grid sector is possible, and that's why we actually have a landmark project right now in Enugu State, Nigeria, where we're actually working very closely with the state governments. We are working very closely with the Enugu State government and Anambra State government, and also with the EEDC, which is the regulatory, which is the utility firm there, and also very closely with the regulatory agency. And we have very close relationship with also the community, and so that with all of these things combined, we want to be able to float for the first time by the half of next year. That is actually possible to do a medium scale 10 to 15 megawatts mini grid project that is going to be beneficial for the community. We are going to also be selling to the utilities, and we are going to also attract a lot of industrial processing in that particular place. So with the model we are using is not just to distribute electricity, some parts will be distribution of electricity, but we also created a space for an industrial park where we're actually going to attract industrial processing in that particular site. In this way, we can ensure that none of our produced supply would actually not be demanded or used. So in this way, we have that end-to-end model. And of course, once we're able to prove this by the half of next year, we want to scale up and also implement this all over the country.
This sounds very interesting. While you were speaking, you mentioned the collaboration with the state government, and here today we have the advisor to the president. Are there any policies that you would like to see that you think can further accelerate growth in the sector, policies you would like to see from the federal government so that maybe we can send a message?
Yeah, thank you. I think, of course, the public-private partnership model has to continue because that's also how investments can also flow. I think I would also say the cost-reflective tariff has to also continue to be in place because that's really what attracts investment into the sector. One thing with this kind of large-scale renewable energy projects is the initial, high cost and, of course, risks, which has to be political or security-wise. So that's also where we have the government, where the government can play a role, in terms of, trying to mitigate some of those risks, by being also in partnership, right? And then, those kind of things I think would go a long way.
Okay, it's a very interesting conversation, but we're limited by time. So I'll come to you, Mr. Evra. You are, on ground developing a lot of renewable energy projects. What has it been like? Are you looking for partners? How has it been? Being able to implement your projects? Have you been able to benefit from some of the policies that Chigozie has just talked about right now? And is it your opinion that it's a favorable sector to do business in right now?
Yes, thank you. So just to come back just to resume what we do, we do the development, we develop, we finance, and then we install the solar plant for industries. As what we're doing in Africa, especially in Nigeria, so we're investing in two first projects and closing for $4 million, around $4 million of investment. So what we're looking now, yes, first of all, it's a client beneficiary. So, before looking for financing and so on, the most important is the client. So, Nigeria, it's a very good market for us, but very competitive and very challenging as market. As you have already said, we have many challenges so concerning the price of kilowatt versus the currency and so on. But there is a need. There is a need in Nigeria, and we are here.
The supply gap remains.
There is a supply gap, yes, as well. There is a supply gap, and then also we are so many. Developer in Nigeria. We have a lot of competitors. When there is a competitor, it's a good sign because it shows that the market is there. But there is also, as we have previously said, that we need just maybe some policy to be reviewed by the government. Just to encourage, because today the challenge is between currency, the price of kilowatt is something, and the other side also we are what we call EPC plus finance. So we are not a private fund, but we do work with private funds. Several of them, there is Norwegian, there is Americans, and they were open today just to work. It's a very good sign that I'm on the same panel with a co-investor because I didn't know that we'd be we made here, and I think that the way they do operate is the same. So what we do inside of financing is we have two cases. We can develop for the private funds, which means that our client in this side will be the private fund. We do all the development, and then we install, and the beneficiary will get the financing on what we call lease to own from the private fund. And the other side also, we raise debt, specifically it all depends. We raise debt from the private fund, and we give them the hands on what we call an SPV, who will be handling all our projects. So this kind of security that you have already said previously. So this is the kind of security we can give that to improve, because it all depends. Today, to our financial partner, if you want or not to take the direct or indirect the risk. So, on time of challenges, what we found is like You know, Africa today is it's a market for today, not for tomorrow. Even for tomorrow, it will be a market, but it's still complicated and risky. So we need financial partners who can take a risk with us, because we have presence in Africa and we are taking a risk in Africa. So there is no investment, no risk, no gain behind. And on the side of our beneficiary or the owner of the assets, so they have just also to know, because for example, for our case, we finance in what we call the lease to own modality, leasing. So sometimes we get some issues just to make them understanding that we are not selling energy per kilowatt, but we sell it like when you buy a car, you know, you pay a leasing for.
Pay lease.
Yes, we give them some opportunity, that facilities just to pay in between 5 and 10, 15 years.
Okay.
But also they have just nowhere to understand. But thanks to our partner, they help us, and they need just to Raymond, and they help us just to make them understanding how we do operate.
Okay, so Olivier has made it clear that he's looking for projects like that to finance. And
yes, I think that we need to talk after.
Yes, and that they do that without collateral. So I think that's very interesting. And just to clarify for the real estate developers who may be in the house, your project, the way you work is that you do not charge, you implement, and it's financed with debt. And then the beneficiaries can pay as a lease.
Exactly. So, so our business model is like we develop. So we involved our own money. That's
your own money. You bring your own money to the project.
The feasibility, technical, the due diligence, and so on. And then we raise money directly or indirectly. We can finance via our SPV or our private, our financial partner can finance. But what is very good to understand is like the owner of the beneficiary of this solution, we start to pay when he will be, he will start to use the
he will only pay
plant
after he has started using the service.
Yes, there is facility between 10 and 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Because of time, we will have to close the session now. It's been a pleasure interacting with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
The choice of panelists, it was very informative, and I was glad to learn more about Nigeria and areas of interest.
We've been able to educate people on the benefits of investing in Nigeria. We've also been able to explain to people, I think elaborately, that Nigeria is open for business.
Over the years, we have shown our strength in being a bank that listens, a bank that curates products to specifically assist our customers. And newly with our diaspora banking now, I think this event has definitely opened doors.
I've been very impressed, and I look forward to my organization, my agency, supporting the Friends of Nigeria group at the next event.
I'm René Laurent Alciator. I represent United Bank for Africa in France, and I'm really glad to be here today at Spotlight Nigeria, the 7th edition. All the team of Friends of Nigeria has done a fantastic job at gathering together high-profile speakers, both from Nigeria, from Nigerian governor, from the office of the president, banks that are actually here represented and growing in Paris, and French investors interested to go to Nigeria or to export to Nigeria. So this is a great opportunity for anyone who wants to do business. It's professional, it is gathering the right attention, and I look forward to future editions.